Welcome, Watchers of Illusion, to my Castle of Confusion on the 17th of February and the final day of ZX Spectrum Week, celebrating the 35th anniversary of the ZX Spectrum. So I've saved what I think is the best till last. That would be Rastan on the ZX Spectrum itself, and what an arcade conversion this turned out to be. Absolutely amazing. I love this game. And I played this originally when it came out, and this was released in 1988. The arcade version, I think, was earlier than that, but the Spectrum version was 1988. Believe it was 1987 that the arcade was released, also known as Rastan Saga. But it was released as Rastan on the home computer systems, which was the C64, the Spectrum Amstrad, and the Master System as well, I believe, had a version of this as well. A bit cut down, but it was not too bad. But this game's absolutely fantastic. It is actually almost arcade perfect. Now, for a Spectrum to do that is pretty damn impressive, quite honestly. The animations are lovely, the scrolling is smooth, there's a majority of the enemies that you'd find in the arcade version as well, absolutely brilliant. Very simplistic display at the bottom, but then you don't really need a complex display. You can see what's going on. You've got your heart in the bottom left. As you lose health, that starts to beat quicker. You've got your health bar, and there's pickups as well, which you can see I've got 2 of in the lower bar. And I'm not sure what they actually are giving me at the moment, but they do expire so that you don't keep them permanently, so they must have some sort of significance to your gameplay. Now, these things here you can die on, so you've got to jump over them. It's not really clear what they actually are. I think in the arcade there's something like lava or something like that that gives a bit more of an impression of why you die, but they've kept everything in from the arcade version. It's great. And the colour scheme isn't too bad either. I know it's kind of, you know, it's got the classic colour scheme for a Spectrum, but, you know, we can forgive that because the game's absolutely awesome. So yes, you take the part of Rastan, and you've got to try and battle your way through the levels and fight bosses and all sorts of other stuff. There you go, it's got the flaming sword, so now I can throw fireballs at my enemies, which is brilliant. So you can see there are pickups. Let's go grab that one. My health bar is almost full, so that's good. The fire sword enables you to chuck fireballs across the screen. And the other thing I must mention as well is the music is absolutely spot on. They've done a really nice job. The 128K version has the arcade soundtrack intact, which is lovely, so you get that as you play, and each level has a different theme tune. I think there's 2 or 3 different tunes as you go. The next level, which I'm going to try and get to you so you can have a look at, features a different theme tune, and then the next level after that will feature this classic Rastan theme as well. But absolutely brilliant. Look at it, it's just detail on it is amazing. Main character's nice and big. The enemy characters are definable. You know, you can see what they're doing, you can see who they are, you see what they're meant to be. And for a Spectrum to do this is absolutely bloody fantastic, considering this was, you know, back in 1988, back when people didn't know how to push the Spectrum to its limits like people have done recently. If you haven't seen the reviews for that, then have a look at some of the updated C64 and ZX Spectrum reviews I've had recently that have been released in the last 3 or 4 years. In fact, one I did the other day was 2010, so go and have a look at that. Anyway, Rastan, it is pretty much arcade perfect. For a Spectrum, it's arcade perfect. I don't think there's anything they could have done to make it even better. But I mean, it's so smooth and so playable. Plus, you've got a lot of options as well. You've got keyboard, cursor. You've got your Kempston and Sinclair interfaces as well, so you've got a whole majority. I'm playing this on Kempston joystick at the moment. It works incredibly well. So you've got your fire button, which enables you to swipe with your sword, and then up will jump. And I always hate diagonal jumping for some reason. It's never been something I've really liked on joysticks. I do prefer the keyboard whenever you can use it. But I thought today I'd try it on the Kempston and see how we get on. Not doing too badly, actually. It's not an easy game, but it'll keep you coming back for more. That's for certain. If you've ever played the arcade version of Rastan, you know exactly what this game is like. And if you can compare the two, because obviously if you've played the arcade, you know exactly what to expect. Those of you who haven't played the arcade, well, this is basically the arcade, but on an 8-bit machine, which is absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's knocking it out of the park completely. Look at it. Absolutely fantastic. The detail on the main character is really nice as well. The swinging animation's great. as in the sword. Now we're into the next level, with no warning whatsoever. So we're into the next level, and now the music's changed, which is really nice. These guys take a couple of hits to kill, so you've got a bit more to look out for. The bats are quite intelligent, because they will, if you duck, they will drop down to your level, if that makes sense. In fact, you'll probably see that happening actually. If I duck down and see the bat there, if I stand up now, the bat goes up. If I go back down, the bats come with me, blah blah. So there you go. Different enemy types on these levels as well, so that's nice. And I actually quite like this colour scheme as well. The white background with the yellow brick, I think that's quite nice. It works quite well. So I'm very impressed with this game. I haven't played it for so many years, but my memory is so not tarnished at all. I remember it being great when I was on the when I had it originally for the Spectrum, and coming back to play it now after all these years is absolutely amazing. And I'm actually doing quite well. I wasn't very good at this game in the arcade, but I think the Spectrum version was slightly easier than the arcade anyway. I think the arcade was much more fast-paced, but then it had a bit more hardware to be able to do that. So there we have it. But this was this was released by Taito, which was great, and they did some really good games. It's a shame that the Rastan Saga 2 was a big pile of dog droppings, but this one just stands out as an arcade classic. And if you can get an arcade conversion as good as this on an 8-bit, then more power to you. You know, so absolutely on the money. I think I've messed that up. Yep, I'm gonna die. Oh no, burnt alive. That's no good. But the death animation is exactly how it is in the arcade as well, which is really good. Climbing animations are fantastic. It's just, you just can't fault this game. It's just so good, so good. I'm just gonna be quiet for a sec so you can hear the music. And also you can tell when you hit something, you get that nice bloop sort of sound as well. It's not intrusive, it's not annoying, and I think you guys will enjoy this game. If you can find a download of it, then obviously this works on all emulation as well as the actual machine itself. If you can play it on the original hardware, that's always a plus point. I don't believe they did a +3 version of this. I think it was +2 and 128K and 48K I think it was released on. So even if you had a humble 48K, you sacrificed a bit of the music and the sound effects, but you still got the Rastan game. But it is brilliant. I mean, I don't say that about many games, but you know, this is one of those arcade classics you need to have in your ZX Spectrum collection, or even the Amstrad collection as well. I mean, it's, you know, it's decent on all formats, so it's worth picking it up. In fact, it might be one of those games that I have to have a look at on various machines as well, just to see what the differences are, because I'd like to see what this was like on the C64 and Amstrad with a touch of more colour in it. But, you know, for what the Spectrum was and is today, this game stands out as an absolute belter. I think it's very, very cleverly done, and they've managed to squeeze every ounce of that arcade into the tape that would have taken probably about 5 to 10 minutes to actually load in. I don't think... No. Just trying to think if it was a long loader. No, I think it was actually a reasonably loading time. I think maybe you're looking about 5 minutes. But that's still, when you're a kid, that's a long time to wait for a game to load. I mean, if you think about how quick today's games load up, you know, 5 minutes is a long time. I think the PlayStation had fairly long loading times on some of the CDs that it had, but it did load a lot of it in one go. I really didn't like multi-load games because they really did take away the immersion of the game, having to swap or flip a tape over or pause it and then be able to play it again when you had to skip to a level. It just broke the game somehow. I had a bat stuck to me then. This game avoids that. It's just a joy to play, absolute joy to play, and I really do recommend that you try and find a copy of this game. Have a look on eBay. There's probably pick this up fairly cheaply these days. But yeah, get yourself a Spectrum on eBay while you're at it. Now this is quite clever as well, because now we're in a boss fight. Just randomly fell through the floor, but there's we can forgive it for little things like that. There's no sort of indication you're about to fight a boss, but never mind. So this is kind of like the culmination of the last level, This level and the first one that you see here are basically the same kind of level. First one is to get into the castle, then you've got in the castle, then you've got the boss, and I kicked his backside. Anyway guys, that's it for me. Thank you very so much for tuning in this week. Remember to like, share and subscribe for more content coming soon. Have a nice weekend everybody. I'll see you on Monday. Bye for now!